He's not just making an Instagram play. Tonight, what I think is maybe one of the most significant plays is Elon Musk. Elon Musk tonight announced that he will be giving $45 million a month to a newly formed super PAC. And that's just cash. But think about, you have the man who controls formerly Twitter, now X, going out there saying, I'm openly supporting in a massive way Donald Trump. It was moments after the assassination attempt. You saw Elon Musk, who controls Twitter, putting up that photo of Donald Trump, on the platform. And one of the reasons it's noteworthy, Elon Musk is very, very close to J.D. Vance, as is Peter Thiel.
Yeah.
Just last week, I spoke to a major CEO in the AI space who said Elon Musk is laser beam focused on Donald Trump. Why? Because the next president, irrelevant of who it is going to control the fate of AI, which will change every bit of how we live. So to me, yes, we're talking about an Instagram play. We're talking about Amber Rose. When you have someone like Elon Musk today, make it public, he's giving this kind of money over the next 113 days. That is major. Could you have a shadow-type president in Elon Musk getting what he wants from a Donald Trump? That's something we should be thinking about.
Yeah, so if Elon Musk is going to put up, $150 or $200 million is what he's talking about there, that we know of, plus whatever he's already put in. And then you've got Peter Thiel, who spoke at the last Republican National Convention. Peter Thiel, an incredibly radical, incredibly controversial figure in American politics. I mean, to the point where, women shouldn't vote. We should form new countries based on floating shipping containers so that we aren't constrained by the terrible tyranny of an American constitution. I mean, Peter Thiel is as out there as you get. They gave him a speaking spot at the last convention.
Is his boy.
Exactly. Yeah. And Peter Thiel almost single-handedly created J.D. Vance as a political figure. He is the one who funded him becoming a senator. He tried to do it with Blake Masters in Arizona at the same time and with J.D. Vance in Ohio. He could not get there with Blake Masters. It didn't help that Blake Masters said he thought the most underappreciated thinker in American life was the Unabomber. That didn't help. But J.D. Vance was disciplined enough to not talk about his Unabomber beliefs, if he has them. But Peter Thiel is this guy. Peter Thiel created him in a lab. And so to have Peter Thiel own the vice president and to have Elon Musk own the president at a time when Donald Trump has personal financial liabilities in the hundreds of millions of dollars that are not going to go away because he is president. We are looking at a situation.
It's giving Harlan Crow. It's giving Harlan Crow.
But I mean, if you think about the amount of government contracts Elon Musk has through Starlink, not just with the U.S. government, governments around the world. He is so tangled, and now he could be in a position where he is sitting behind the scenes and getting exactly what he wants from a sitting president.
And this is why I'm saying Harlan Crow. I mean, if you think about the way that these billionaires are purchasing Supreme Court justices, purchasing policies that they want, purchasing the American government. And, Elon Musk as a person, to go back to the Amber Rose, he is somebody who was sued by his own employees because they created such a racist environment inside of Tesla that people couldn't even stand to work there. There were parts of the factory that were called the slave quarters under him. He's somebody who said to Don Lemon, when Don Lemon briefly had this show that was on Next, that's now not on it anymore, that the way to get rid of racism is to stop talking about it. And if you just would shut up about it, it would go away. I mean, his own views, he has opened Twitter up to Nazis and some of the most extreme views, to the point where a lot of sort of reasonable people have gotten off of it because it's so toxic and ugly. And of course he would love to own a president. Of course Peter Thiel would love to own the vice president. What we're seeing is the purchasing of the American experiment, the purchasing of the American government, multiple branches of it, and it's happening right in front of our eyes.
Unless the voters choose otherwise.
Yeah.
That's still to be seen.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn, MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.